We're going to look at 10-2B next, comparing 3 depreciation methods. Waylander Coatings Company purchased waterproofing equipment on January 6th for $320,000. The equipment was expected to have a useful life of 4 years or 20,000 operating hours, residual value of $35,000. The equipment was used for 7,200 hours during year 1, 6,400 year 2, 4,400 in year 3, and 2,000 hours in year 4. Determine the amount of depreciation expense for the years ended in years 1, 2, 3, and 4 by the straight line method, the units of activity method, and the double declining balance method. Also determine the total depreciation expense for the 4 years by each method. Okay, so if we look at our worksheet, it gives us a table at the top to fill in for our answers, and then it gives us space to run our calculations at the bottom. There we go. But I'm going to actually use a blank piece of paper, just because, I don't know, the lines kind of bother me. So we're going to use a blank piece of paper to do ours. If you are more into lines, then you are more than welcome to use the other page. First thing I'm going to do is pull the information out of the problem. So we know that it was $320,000 was our initial cost. We had useful life of 4 years or 20,000 hours. And then we had residual value of $35,000. It also told us how often it was used each year. So year 1 was 7,200 hours. Year 2, 6,400. Year 3 was 2,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Year 3 was 4,400. Missed a number there. And then year 4 was 2,000. Okay? So here we have our initial information. So I'm just going to put a line here. We're going to start with the straight line method. And this was letter A. So I'm going to take the initial cost of $320,000, subtract the residual value, and divide the whole thing by 4 years. And then this tells me that in the straight line method, my depreciation is $71,250 per year. Okay, by far the easiest method because we're done. So if we go back to our worksheet, okay, we go back to our worksheet, so this is year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and our straight line method said it's $71,250 per year, so it's the same each year. And then if we total those up, we get $285,000. Okay, letter B, I'm going to put another line here to show that this is different. So letter B is the units of activity method. Okay. So much like the first one, we're going to take our original amount, original cost, and then we're going to subtract our residual value. But this time we're going to divide it by that 20,000 hours. Okay, and when we do that, we find out that our depreciation cost is $14.25 per hour. Okay. Now we know that year 1 we used it for 7,200 hours, times the 14.25, gives us 102,600. Year 2 was 6,400 hours, times 14.25, and we get 91,200. Year 3, 4,400 hours, times the 14.25, 62,700. And year 4 was 2,000 hours, times the 14.25, and we get 28,500. And then if we were to add these up, we get the $285,000. Okay. So now we're going to take this and put it on to our paperwork here. So the first one was 102,600, 91,200, 62,700, and 28,500 for a total of 285. Okay, moving up here. Our last one, letter C, is double declining. Okay, for double declining, our first step is to calculate our straight line percentage. Okay, so we're going to take 100 divided by our 4 years, and we get 25%. Since we're looking at double declining, we're going to multiply that times 2, and we get 50%. Okay. We're going to start with our 320,000 times the 50%, and that's going to give us 160,000. So that's our year 1 amount. Now we're going to subtract the 160 from the 320, and we get 160. Now don't forget, right now we're working with the 50%. You know, normally it doesn't always work out this way, so our numbers are going to be the same. We're going to continue with the subtraction though. Just because it doesn't always work out this way, it doesn't always work out to be 50%. Okay, so then we take this 160 and multiply it times 50%, and we get 80,000 for year 2. Subtract the 80 from over here, and we get the 80,000. Multiply that times 50%, and we get 40,000 for year 3. Now we're at our final year, so we're going to subtract the 40,000. But we're also going to subtract the 35,000, which was our residual value, which leaves us with $5,000. Okay, and this becomes our year 4. So we're going to take these numbers and put them onto our worksheet. So again, our first year was 160, 80, 40, and 5. When we add them together, we get 285. Okay? Question number 2, and I don't usually do the extra questions, but we will on these. What method yields the highest depreciation expense for year 1? So if we look at year 1, we see straight line is at 71, units of activity is 102, and double declining is 160. So this double declining during year 1 would be our highest. Okay? The other question is, what method yields the most depreciation over the 4-year life of the equipment? And if we look at our chart, they all yield the same amount of depreciation. Okay, so it doesn't matter which method you use, you're going to come up with the same amount of depreciation for the whole life of the unit. Okay, you can go ahead and head back to your PowerPoint.